Hello, everyone. Welcome back for another week of Growing with My Fellow Growers. I'm your host, Jack Greenstock, joined as always by an amazing panel. This week we're a little bit short. It is the Puppy Bowl, also the Super Bowl this week. So I know a lot of you are out there watching that Puppy Bowl, most importantly, but there might also be some Super Bowl watchers as well. And all of you are missing out on Growing with My Fellow Growers and the Puppy Bowl, of course. But with that being said, I want to pass it over first to Spartan Grown. Welcome back.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks for having me. Thanks, chat, for coming. The few people that are probably popping in here, I'm sure Super Bowl is going to reduce our numbers some, but I'm still glad to be here. I'm still glad that we're here to be able to talk like every week, and I'm still proud to try to get more people growing at home. That's really what it's all about. So I'm Spartan Grown. You can find me on Instagram at Spartan Grown, all one word, no spaces, or you can just shoot me an email at spartangrown@gmail.com, and I try to help you with all of your cannabis growing needs.
Happy to have you back. And the only other panelist we've got with us tonight so far is, and last and certainly not least in the introductions, the American one.
Hello, Jack Spartan, everyone in chat. I am the American one. And every bowl I pack is a Super Bowl, so I'm not missing out on anything, which is good. But yeah, I'm the American one on YouTube and the American one _ Keens on the IG. Most of you know where to find me. Hit me up on the DMs in IG if you want to ask me any questions or inquire about some beans. And yeah, it's good to be here.
Good to have you back. It's not any really particular topic of note tonight because it is a shorter night. I figured it'd just be more of a hangout. One of the longtime listeners, he's a data analyst, Brian 420 PM, had sent me something about Athena and their EC levels being like extremely high. And I thought that might be a good topic, but without Dr. MJ and the rest of the crew, I don't know if that's one that we want to get super deep into, but maybe if anybody in the chat has some questions that they want to throw our way, they're more than happy to. We maybe take some chat questions because you just got the three of us. So more than likely all three of us will be able to get to those answers. And otherwise we could just go around and do a little check-in and see how we're doing. Tao, what are you smoking on tonight and how's the garden?
Smoking, actually, I don't know what it is. I think it's the Turmeric by Blueberry. And I have a little dry sift that fell through on the my pollen box that I have. Yeah, that's what I'm smoking on. I got a bong. My garden's all good. I have some beans maturing right now, so I'm half excited about that and half not too excited about shucking them all, but that'll be a little ways away. But now I got to find a place, like, let it all, whatever. It's all good. I love it. But yeah, that tent's going to get cleaned out, washed out, and refilled. And I'm taking a lot of cuts. I'm taking, I think I talked about it maybe last week on the show about how I was debating on what I'm going to use to start cuts. So I had Rockwell cubes, and I had some leftover. I finished off the straight up Pro Mix, which is what I was saying. I like the Pro Mix, but I don't want to keep buying stuff. Like, I've been reusing my soil. It's been doing good. And I've been trying to figure out a better way. But so I have been using old soil that I rinsed through really good with water, because that was my fear. It'd be too hot to take cuts, But I have a whole bunch in like rinsed out old soil, and some of them have taken, and some of them I haven't really poked around yet. And then I got a whole bunch in Rockwell cubes. So for now, that's what I'm at. Not too much new and exciting. I do have I have one female and two males of this seeds I came across in my when I was going through all my seeds. It was a freebie set from AK Beam Rains, labeled Sensi Star /RKS. So I'm assuming it's Sensi Star crossed with a roadkill skunk of some sort. And I couldn't help but pop those. So I'm going to see what that's like. I just took cuttings off of those and upplanted the female. So hopefully she'll do good for me.
Good stuff. Spartan, what are you smoking on tonight and how are things going in your garden?
Was smoking Mac 1 today, and then after that I've got some goodies that were brought to me. Shout out to Indica B. He came over and hung out for a little bit today, and he dropped me off some flowers, so I'm going to check that out later. I got some cookies and cream. I got some Motor Breath, and what was the final one? Let me see. It was called something Point Break. That's a new one for me, so and that's the other one. But yeah, as far as my garden's going, everything's cruising right along. I've got I'm excited in my flower room. I've got a blue dream that I've got in there. My first time growing it. So that is going to be a fun experience, I think. It's already stretching. And then in my veg, I've started doubling up my plants in my sip container so I can pheno hunt some of the crosses I've made with the Vortex. So I've got two Spartan Pukes, which is the Donnyburger cross, in one pot, two Snow King cross, which is the Snow Devil, in a pot. So it's going to be, I'm going to have to grow smaller plants, obviously, but just two in the same pot. And then I got a Project V also going. So I want to get all those into flower soon, obviously, which still they're probably going to take a few more weeks at least to get big enough to really throw in there. But I'm probably going to do that from here on out. It's just pheno hunt two at a time in one pot until I find some keeper cuts, because eventually I want to make some F2s. So just take, right now I'm hunting out the females. Once I get a female I really like, then I'll start popping and hunting out the males. Make my own F2s on any of them. But funny thing about it is when you get into the breeding game, like when I bred those Vortex, just the open pollination project, I had 4 planters with 4 plants, 2 males and 2 females in a tent, and they bred in there. But I don't throw out my soil, right? So I save my soil. So I'm starting to reuse some of those pots now. They're coming back into the cycle and they're sprouting like cover crops of cannabis because obviously when I was harvesting or bumping the plants, sometimes some of the seeds fell. And I've even reused some of the soil just like in 1 gallon pots, repotting up and stuff. And I'm getting these little 3 to 5 little fucking cannabis plants shooting up in these pots. And I'm like, oh man, wonder how long this is going to last. I mean, my first instinct is I want to dig them all out and pheno on them, right? But man, there's just too many. I'm just gonna start fucking whacking them.
Might have some random hemp in there from old gnarly barleys of the past or something, but hopefully not. And more hopefully to stay able to chop and drop. But with that said, I want to give a second to welcome Matthew Gates, who jumped in a little bit after our introduction.
Yeah, I've been having major connection issues. Anyone who has followed me over for my live stream, which I normally have about 1 p.m. PST, it like cut out. I don't know what's going on. A lot of weird things are happening lately. Anyways, I'm Matthew Gates. I'm an integrated pest management specialist. Most of you already know that. And for those who don't know, you can check me out at Zenthanol, the YouTube channel, and zenthanol.com for professional inquiries if you got some pest issues. Whether you're a large commercial scale grower or a small home grower, I like to make that information available to as many people as possible.
Sounds good. Well, we're happy to have you back. And are you smoking along with us tonight or just hanging out?
Actually, I have some stuff from a old friend that I was breaking out recently. Ahti Farms, AHTI, Ahti Farms. Their Sevastopol Sour is one of my favorites. I think I've talked about it here beforehand, but I had a little bit left from that I had stored away in a nice cold container and everything. And it's been pretty nice. Forgot I had it, actually, because I was saving it for a rainy day. And it's been pretty rainy lately, so it's fitting.
I just came across one that I think you might like. It reminded me of what you described as one you called Tang. I think this one's called Sunny C. I think it's like a play on Sunny D, but like Sunny Cannabis.
That's cute. I like that.
It tastes a lot like that Sunny Delight beverage, and very citrusy, orangey, like almost artificial orangey, like not like a natural orange, but a little bit sweeter. A touch of gas, which I personally prefer and enjoy, but definitely nice to come across something like that kind of hits that really nice taste palette and reminds you strongly of something that you've had in the past.
I had a sulfuric gassy sample from the San Diego Farmers Market cup that I'm judging recently, and I actually have to get I have to get everything done, which I'm practically done sampling by midnight tonight, and it was like gassy and sulfury. I don't know the name or anything like that, but it was sample number 35. So I'm very curious to find out who that is after we're done.
That'd be cool. It's also cool that it's unbiased and they just give you a number and not the name, because
Yeah.
Sometimes the name does taint it, and people are like, "Oh, it's called pineapple, so it tastes like pineapple." And otherwise, they might just be like, "Oh, that's citrusy or like lemony," but they might not say pineapple right off the top. That's why it's nice to have just a number and let people objectively kind of review it for themselves.
Yeah, I have to say what I like about it is that it's not like nothing necessarily wrong or inherently wrong, but I do like that's like a people's cup and not so much like there's like an expert group of people who are like, it's good because of this and that reason. Um, Much more, I guess, customer friendly that way, I feel like. But they have a place for both.
I think
Yeah, they
really
have like the homegrown and then the commercial, right?
I've honestly seen,
Yeah.
I'll say back in the traditional market days, man, I've seen some nefarious things, and I'm sure go the same way in the legal market. But people are extremely influenced by just the way you talk. So
Oh
if somebody,
yeah.
if somebody looks at you like an expert or looks at you like somebody that knows more about it than they do, they can be talked into just about anything, and it's sad.
Sometimes sometimes I like to
Like I've
call
seen
this the
somebody who like I've smoked some. He's like, I've sat in a guy's house before, and he showed me some cannabis, and I was like, man, that doesn't look the greatest. There's something going on with that. And they're like, oh, I know it was this, bullshit, but watch this. And then somebody comes over and he talks it up like it's the best fucking shit ever. And the person looks at it and is like, yeah, give me a bunch of that. I'm like, why are you proud of that, dude? So yeah, be wary of other people's opinions on stuff. I just caution you to try yourself, because you can really be influenced by other people. I even try to do that when for myself. I like to have other people, like if I have a new strain, I want them to try it first. I won't tell them what I think. I might say
yeah.
I think it's good. I might say I think this is really good, but I won't say, I get this, I get that, I get this, until they tell me what they think, and then I'll tell them what I think, and then together we usually can come to maybe even a mutual conclusion. But I don't like to influence them.
I was just reciting a situation when I think I've told it on a story here before, but the long story short is that I was homebrewing some alcohol and I decided to make stuff not from fruit like I normally do, but from like just from like some like pineapple juice, but it wasn't just pineapple juice. There was like other spices added to it or whatever. Anyways, I made it like I do my fruit wines, and I tried it. I didn't like it. It was pretty gross to me. But I told my friend, hey, I made this stuff. Didn't tell him I didn't like it. I was like, hey, you want to try some? He's like, oh, I love it. And I said, you can have it all. So yeah, like you can't account for taste, right?
And then there's also some people are more suggestible and or agreeable. So
Yeah.
suggestibility being like you say, "Hey, I have this really grapey smelling cannabis," and then you hand it to somebody, they're like, "Wow, that does really smell a lot like grape." And then agreeable, somebody's just like they want to go along with whatever you say, so they're just gonna agree with, "Yeah, it does smell like grape," or whatever. So those two factors, I think, especially because a lot of cannabis users are just generally friendly. I think suggestibility slash agreeability tend to rank highly among friendly people. So it can be
Yeah,
problematic to suggest or put out there what you think before somebody is able to unbiased try it.
I'm not a big believer in telling the white lies to make people feel better. I tell them like it is pretty much almost all the time, which is a problem sometimes. But yeah, I believe you should tell the truth, whatever the truth might be. So that's one of my flaws, to be honest. I
There's
do
a
know when to keep my mouth shut, though. That's another part of the process. Yeah, just don't say anything.
That's how
Well,
you
but
stay
what's the
alive.
truth here, though? I think that's the thing. If it's like an objective truth, and I'm not going to get into like the philosophy of it, but like, yeah, I agree. Like, if you don't like it, you should tell people. Or if you're like, oh, I can't really smell it, it bothers me. Like, when I drink, I mean, I don't really drink anymore, but when I used to, and it wasn't even that much. I would always, I just, how you guys could probably tell I'm an analytical person. When I look at the label and it's like, oh, it's got notes of chestnut and all these other things that are, some things are more common, right? Like oak, if it's like oak, distilled or whatever. But some of these things where I'm just like, oh, it's got like meringue. What kind of meringue? Like, I don't know. Like like I had some dried goji berries recently, and it struck me that they had like a cereal like flavor to them, almost grain like. But when I say it like that, it probably sounds not very appetizing, but it's actually kind of a nice breaded, farinaceous. I don't know what the words are, mealy. But it was like a good taste. It's like a like the way that like bread tastes when it like hits your tongue. I don't know.
And how different is, I haven't had a goji berry. I haven't had the experience of trying one yet. How is that different from the fresh berry?
When they're fresh, they're still kind of wrinkly, but they're not super juicy. They're kind of like they've got some solidity to them, and they're pink, and not that that really helps. Maybe it does, but like they've got like a mild berry flavor. I feel like something I would associate with like slightly sweet, kind of closer to. I used to have a goji berry tree at my parents' place when I was growing up. I planted it, but it died eventually, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was actually
yeah.
looking into it because it's like a permaculture plant. It's one that comes back year after year, and you can really, it's another thing you can eat.
Oh yeah, and it's really good for you. There's a lot of great stuff in them, and they're pretty hardy too, which is why I was very sad that it died. But yeah, that's
Things happen.
unfortunate. It does happen. I certainly didn't feel like it was my fault, but anywho.
That aside, to get back to one of Spartan's points, the guy who kind of was talking up his bud that maybe he knew wasn't the best and Spartan knew wasn't the best. I think some people are a little bit proud in just their sales ability. Like my wife worked in the service industry for a while. She used to brag, and maybe still does, that she could sell ice to an Eskimo. And she's just the type of person who's very influential and good with her words and knows her product well and can tell you all the high points of it. Even if it's not the top shelf highest product, she can at least tell you the best points of even the more affordable tier product type stuff. And so I think, like Tao, though, what you were saying, it's best. There's like a book called Lying by Sam Harris, and I think it breaks down a lot of the downsides of lying long term and inconsistencies in life and things like that. But giving that honest feedback, it's sort of like not what you say, but how you say it. And to agree again with Matthew and to agree with all you guys, but like you can't account for taste. And so I don't really love certain orange strains, like the ones that taste more like a natural orange or like a real orange. I do like the more candied orange strains. And I don't really like lemony strains, but I do like the candier lemony stuff. So if somebody grew a strain that was like natural lemon or natural orange, that's not my personal preference. If it was larfy or it was like harvested early and there was things that I could tell, like the trichomes were off, or the bud structure didn't look great, or maybe the smell wasn't strong, the flavor wasn't strong, like those are things that maybe I could offer some feedback on. Like one guy today said, like he was describing his drying method and it didn't seem too bad. And then I was like asking him, I was like, well, maybe the grow didn't go so well, or maybe it's the genetics, because like you can really only get so much potential. And he listed off the breeders that he was growing, and I was like, I'm not trying to be rude, but like those guys are just 3 knockoff artists. Like, and then he's like, well, fortunately now I've got some Amy Aces going, and I'm like, I would bet you, even if you do the same exact drying method, the Amy Aces is going to turn out better because you're just working with better genetics. And I sent him the list of breeders that I recommend or whatever, but I think that's a big starting point and a huge factor that a lot of people actually underestimate. Even though a lot of the lists, if you type in like what's the most important part about growing, a lot of lists say number 1, genetics. Like a lot of them will also say like environment, but without the genetics, you don't even have the potential to get to that really dang flower that most of us are chasing after. But that said, got a little sidetracked there, and we do have a couple good questions from Chilbert and Daniel.
I just wanted to jump one thing in there, Jack. Sorry, I was trying to recover from coughing, but I think that's really what it comes. I mean, obviously, that's kind of what I still believe in, even to this day. Really, to eke out that last little bit out of your garden, it comes down to pheno hunting, in my opinion. It's genetics, and so that's kind of what's driven me. I never really had a whole lot of aspirations to be any kind of a breeder, but as far as a mass scale breeder, but just to play around with myself and make a few small batches to continue to pheno hunt at an affordable way for me to continue to pheno hunt. That's, I think, one of the biggest addictions for me with this is just to search through all the different expressions and all the different ways the plant can grow, and when you are in the breeding process, you can start seeing the parentage in the plants. You know what I mean? It's just so cool to be like, oh, that one's leaning more towards this way. Or, oh, that's grandfather used to do that, with that weird leaf curl thing, or whatever the hell it is. That's what's kind of ignited, more interest in me. I don't foresee this hobby to ever be uninteresting to me or unappealing to me, because I could forever pheno hunt and be happy doing it.
Even just pheno hunting, like when you're not breeding, seeing the influence of each parent, like, oh, this one leans like this way or this one leans like that way, that really got me, I think, into the more interest of breeding, because then I'd be like, oh, well, this one's really dominant in that strain. And even though I can't get that cut, maybe it's no longer available, maybe it's too tightly held, I found a leaner that's just like that parent. And then I could take that thing and then breed it into other stuff that I like and see how they intermix. And maybe they share some traits, maybe one dominates the cross, but you never really know until you try. And there's really, I know there's a lot of fly-by-night breeders and there's literally thousands of breeders out there, but I'd say there's probably, 50 to 100 people actually like doing consistent work that are going to be here in the next 5 or 10 years. So, oh, it looks like, yeah. Anyway, the kind of fact of the matter is, if you do want to do like Spartan or like myself or Tau and make some of your own crosses, I think that it's something worth doing. If you find 2 strains that you really like and they're not already crossed out there, maybe put them together and see what comes out, because it really it is satisfying. And as somebody who's going to be doing this, like most of you out there, for the rest of my lifetime, it will give you something consistently to keep doing and trying. And then you could share testers. You could pop way more seeds than you're used to. Like you can pop 20, 30, 40 seeds and it doesn't matter, because they're pennies on the dollar when you're making them yourself versus buying them for, X amount of dollars per seed. It's
yeah, you get real used to killing plants. It's not a big deal anymore.
when unless you're Tau, who makes seeds and still keeps everything alive.
I was just gonna say, yeah, that might be easy for you, Spartan.
No, man,
you've got the Spartan kick mentality, man. You built it into your ethos.
I am getting better at it, though. Yeah, definitely getting better at it.
I don't think of it as killing. I think of it as selecting. I'm picking the winners. Even though the ones are, they're not selected, and maybe they do get killed off. I like to gift them off or feed them to my cats.
They're still dying.
I like to flower them out at least, because like even if they look like a loser, they might be special in one way or another. But
until I have way more space to do it, man, and I just can't.
Yeah, I've been trying.
You could pop like 50 just to find the best 2, and then those best 2 are going to be way better than if you just pop 10 and keep all 10, and then you search through them. Like you get the best out of a group of 10 versus the 2 best out of a group of 50. I don't know. I think if you're looking for unicorns, the bigger hunts you do, the more likely you're going to come across that super.
You have to finish them. If you don't finish them, then you're not really doing a hunt, are you?
Yeah, I think that you can only count your hunt as the ones that you harvest, but
maybe. No, I don't know. I don't know. I would argue.
You could, you can make.
I would say no, because if you're looking for something, well, for example, if you're looking for a killer female, which most people are, just calling the males and killing the males. I mean, that's one thing.
Because half of them
are pretty familiar with.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean,
I have a hard time doing that now, but in the whole pheno hunt thing, I like to look at it. If someone is just starting, especially, I would say try as many different, because that was the first pheno hunt, is trying tons of strains, different strains, and then when you find that strain that's what you like the most or whatever, then you do a whole bunch of those to find one that might even be, better than what you already like. And there could be ones that will yield better, have that same exact thing and stuff like that, But I enjoy trying all different seeds, and I have tried all different seeds. And but yeah, the other thing with doing all from seed is, and you're not 100%, you got to keep an eye on them for them herms, because I've been seeing more and more posts lately now on IG again. People crying about they just found 6 herms in their flower room and shit like that. So
always good to keep an eye out for, in my opinion. I think early flower, you should always keep your eyes out and be looking through the bottoms, because even a tried and true pheno eventually sometimes might get thrown off a little bit, get a little stressed, and throw that hermie.
Yeah, even like the best breeders and the most stable strains that you know of could make it pop out anytime you start from seed, So yeah.
Yeah, your environment's unique.
Yep.
And there's a ton of parameters as a grower or a pheno hunter that you can keep track. I mean, have a little journal or whatever, keep track of different little differences. Like there's a million of, like, for example, today I noticed when I was looking at my veg at the snow devil plants, I was actually looking at all of the crosses that I was growing, just trying to sex them or get an idea if there's any kind of pre-sex. And of course, none of them are showing yet, except for I found one snow devil that was 100% definitely female. And so I noted, not only did I note it, that number snow devil was female, but I also noted it was the first to show, which means it's a maturing plant, which is likely, I mean, it's not guaranteed, but like it's likely it's going to have a faster finish.
That's a good point. Something I wanted to note on Tao's point that I kind of I see it both ways, because if you pop 1,000 seeds and you work it down to like 200 or something, you could say, oh, I hunted 1,000 seeds, because you actually popped 1,000 seeds, you used the resources, and you grew them however long until you determined whatever that was, maybe early veg, maybe seedling. Some people kill them in seedling. Some people kill them in early flower. Some people wait until right before flip. So everybody's thing is different. And in my experience, one of my best phenos of a particular strain was the runt in veg. So that's where I have to kind of lean on. Maybe you do have to flip them and then see, because my Platinum Yeti F3, it was a tester from Humboldt Seed Organization, HSO. I almost killed it because it was really, really runty. Like, it was going really slow in veg, and then I flipped it and it ended up being the tallest or second tallest plant in the room. And it yielded well, and it had an amazing phenotype. Like, still to this day, one of the most unique smokes I've come across, and very stony, very, very good medicine. And I sort of wonder now, like all those other plants that I haven't kept, like I wonder if there was any gems in there that I picked my favorite two that vegged the best to take through flower or whatever. But maybe there was some gems that didn't get flipped ever or were gifted off.
Mac 1's probably the most famous example of what you're talking about. I mean, it's a pain in the ass to grow. It's slow vegger, tight ass node spacings. You got to keep it clean, but if you take it to the end, it's worth it.
Purple Urkel too, and Grape Ape, both really slow veggers, stay small, and when you flip them, they don't rip. They might go like 0.5x height and stretch, maybe double if you're lucky, but very rarely is it like a 1.5. And so some of those you have to just veg them longer, learn to train them. I think you said you had good success outdoor greenhouse with that at Sequences greenhouse or something. It seemed to veg, or maybe it was like the S1 or something. One of them was growing faster outside.
Outside it grows beautiful. Everything grows, not everything, but most all of them fucking just are a whole nother fucking level outdoor.
It depends on your situation, whether that 2 times, 3 times in flower is a good thing, in my opinion. I kind of like the ones that don't get crazy.
I was going to pick for that because I'm in such a small space that actually one of the males that I was working with early in the Velvet Punch breeding, I was going to pick for the stockiest one. It was a different seed line that I decided to go and not stick with, but it was one of the stockiest plants I ever grew. And I was like, well, I'm in a tiny spot, so maybe I should just pick the stockiest plant, so then I don't have to work as hard to avoid the stretch, and like I can train them a little easier and things like that. But I realized most people want that vigor, and if you plan for it and account for it, it's just nice to have fast growing, big, vigorous, healthy cannabis plants, in my opinion. So I was like, I'll make it work in my space, as long as it's not like, to get to Daniel Hallett's questions, do you guys have any suggestions for growing cultivars out in the Pacific Northwest, Van Isle specifically? And I think that's just a really rainy area. Pacific Northwest generally is known for being one of the wettest. I think it is literally a rainforest. So the two factors I would say is early finisher or really open bud structure, like a Blue Dream, for example. It's a haze hybrid. It's a DJ Short's blueberry crossed to Santa Cruz haze. The remake of it by Humboldt Seed Organization used Super Silver Haze, which has some pretty good phenos as well. But they stretch to like 4 times the veg height plus, have pretty open bud and leaf structure. Another one would be the Freak Show. We saw with last week, we had Dog Doctor on, and outdoors, those seem to do well because they allow a little bit more airflow. But we were talking about it, maybe his was really tight and dense. So like you could have mold and mildew issue because there's like leaf on top of leaf and there's like thousands of little leaflets versus just like one leaflet per leaf or whatever. And coverage could be difficult for IPM related things like that too. So, and the last thing I'll say before I pass it off to the panel is there's like a strain called Friesland, which is known for being extremely mold and mildew resistant. I think it was grown outdoor in the UK, as well as a few different European countries that get lots of rain and really cold weather. And they were able to get that to finish without having tons of mold or botrytis, mildew, things like that. So those are my few suggestions generally. And I guess auto flowers, if you can find some good ones, might also be an option if it's just getting it done before the rain starts coming. But I think where they're at in Van Isle, or I don't know if it is Van Isle, specifically. I don't know if it's always rainy there, like 365, where you're going to have like rain every week, and then you need something that is just more like, I don't know that there are scientific trials that have been done to like show like, oh, this cultivar is actually specific to botrytis or bud rot or mold and mildew and things like that. But I think that some people will claim that, and you're gonna have to test a bunch out to see which ones actually are, and then maybe keep them. I think the last person I'll recommend before passing it off is 2020 Mendocino, because he grows up in Mendocino County, which is pretty damp. They get lots of rains, and a lot of his stuff has been shown to be pretty mold and mildew resistant in his experience in his climate. So if your area is worse than Mendocino, maybe it won't work, but they're up there pretty close to you, not exactly, but as roughly as far north as you can get in California, and their weather is similar-esque. So that is my thoughts on the matter, and I guess I'll pass it to Spartan Grow next if you have any thoughts on this for Daniel Hallett.
Yeah, I think this is going to be my best advice, and then I'll give you a few examples. But my best advice is to try to network with local growers from your area that grow outdoors, and if you don't know any, which is often the case, just go to where they go, and that's the grow store, and ask somebody at the grow store and see what they say, because they talk to these same guys, and see and just say, hey, is there any local strains or any strains out here that people grow a lot that they're successful with outdoor? That would be my first go-to, because the more local information that you can get that's localized to you, that's the best. That means somebody else did the testing for you, kind of thing. So that gives you your best foot forward. After that, I would just go for some strains, just like what Jack said, some known strains that do well in that general situation. Here in Michigan, one that's popular is from, and I would actually check out this breeder anyway, and that's 2020 Mendocino. And my buddy Adam out there is just crushing it. He does all his breeding and he outdoor greenhouses where they grow, and they do a lot of their breeding outdoor. And in Mendocino County, California. So it's more local to you than Michigan, at least. And one of their flagships that even does well here in Michigan is Glue Sniffer. So, and I've even recommended that, consulting another consultant who is consulting a very large grow that ended up putting in thousands of seeds of Glue Sniffer. And the report back was that they did amazing. So I can't highly recommend that one more than I mean, that's just the information I got back on it, and that's huge. That's field tested. So I would really push with that one. Other than that, what Jack said, and but above all of that, I would recommend to go to that grow store and just see what you can find out.
Yeah, your local resource, you never know. Like there might be Kyle from Predicated Breeding or Pure Breeding. He has a Northern Lights 5 that was selected for New England specifically over like from the 1990s till now. It's just been selected. It's pretty much an inbred line to finish in the New England area, despite all their rain and cold, harsh weather. So if you find something like that, I mean, it's going to be hard to find something that's going to do better than basically a local land race that's been acclimated to your climate. And hopefully the people in your area are generous and open. It seems like being in a green state. I think they said.
I think he's in
Northwest.
He's on Vancouver Island. It looks like, if I looked on the map right. And yeah, I would say I think Mendocino is a lot different than Vancouver Island. But you know that there's people that have been growing in Vancouver since before. For a long time. I'm sure.
Vancouver's BC, right? Vancouver, British Columbia. Yeah, BC Bud. BC Bud is literally like a fucking. That's a term like dank. Like BC Buds refers to like just dank bud for a lot of people for a long time. Like that was indoor hydro, British Columbia bud. A lot of it was hydro because it was indoor, because the weather there isn't the greatest, admittedly. So you're going to be looking.
They weren't busting them that much back then either. That's why a lot of it was coming over. But yeah, Spartan stole my answer. I was going to say, like, try and find someone that grew shit right near them first. That would be the best. But there is that blueberry muffin from Humboldt Seed Company is supposedly really quick, right? That one might be a quick finisher. And a lot
of their stuff is. Their Super Freak is quick. Their pineapple upside down cake, they're all like 6-7 week, like some of the fastest stuff I've seen that actually finishes. Go.
So that might be one place to investigate. And I would say, ask around, or even like yeah, just look on the people that you follow. If you know anybody that's close to you that had success last year, copy the successes of other people. That's it. Yeah.
I think Shango Los is up there in Vancouver Island. I could be wrong, but no, he's Vashon.
He's on
Vashon
Vashon
Island.
Island. Yeah.
I knew it was V Island, something like that, somewhere up there. But fuck, I was like, yeah,
Out to
he might be
Shango.
good.
He's got some ties to Michigan. He's got family out here.
Shaping Fire is a great podcast, and if I didn't do this at the top of the show, I really regret and remiss in not doing it. I want to shout out and say farewell to one of my former podcasts that I really liked listening to, Embracing Organics. They were most Thursday nights a cannabis podcast. You can go back and look at their back catalog. I believe Tanasi was the one who was running it with Dirtman Dan, and they did a great job. I listened to it. I was often in the live chats or watching afterwards and listening along. So just a shout out to them and the community. Like, a lot of people might think that cannabis podcasts are competitive with one another, and to me it doesn't feel that way at all. Like, they were always super cool and friendly with us, and I think we might have even done a little crossover at one point. But yeah, just really cool guys, a different set of perspectives, and a lot of great content that they put out there. They got over that 100 episode mark, which not a lot of podcasts make it to, and they're not going away forever. Tanasi, I think, is more on the sacred tree mushrooms, and so they're kind of going more into the psychedelic side of things. But if you're interested in that, check out Tanasi and what he's doing over there. But I wanted to give him a big shout out because I know they entertained me for a while, and we're a great part of the community. So it's sad to see him go, but I'm thankful that they were a part of this community for sure.
What happened exactly?
They just announced
Yeah,
that
did they announce?
they're not going to do the show anymore. But they were a long time show, man. They've been around.
Yeah, they sure
I
were.
consider them all OGs in my opinion, and I really appreciate all their contributions. And I can remember a time when I don't think I missed a show for years.
Yeah, remember Tricky D? Shout out to Tricky D.
Yeah, Tricky
too.
D. Yep, and
Yeah.
Tricky D Labs still pops into shows here and there. I've seen him jump into GML chat a couple times.
I think Pedro was on Embracing Organics quite a bit there too.
Yep, Pedro's on there a lot. Yep, all those guys. So, and they share a lot of information too, just like what we're all about. So it's I'm sad to see him go, because there used to be one of the ones that I would always give an example of. You can still have long running ones. There's still long running ones. You can still do it. But it'll be cool. It'll be cool if maybe this is going to be a little pause and they'll be back.
And they've had a couple of those throughout their history, and that'd be totally fine too. And if they do come back, I'll definitely be the first one to shout them out and be watching that episode along with many of you other cannabis faithful. I know we're definitely not the only show most of you listen to. I see so many of you in pretty much every single chat that I'm associated with, and if not, like, at least more than half of them. And it's always cool to see the familiar faces, and really it makes it feel like a cannabis community. And I think we do a good job trying to support each other and let each other know when content's out there, because I think a lot of people would listen to more content if they knew it was available. So this is one of the cases where it's actually kind of going the opposite direction. But if you're interested, like many are, in the ever-growing field of psychedelics, which I think cannabis is even semi-tangentially related to, you might be interested in checking that stuff out. So shout out to all those guys. Matthew, I asked everybody at the top of the show if there's anything new or interesting in their garden. I know that you may not be growing cannabis right now, but I know that you typically grow loquat and other things. How's your garden looking over there, if you've got one going still?
Yeah, earlier, I know that last time you asked that question, I think that I'd mentioned that I'm pining over a dragon fruit plant. And with all of the rains lately, it's been a little bit exciting, because I don't want that plant to get overwatered and get root rot and die. But succulents like that, they do pretty good despite everything if you're careful. I also have a neighbor that has a ton of dragon fruit, and hopefully I can get maybe a whole plant from her potentially. And that would be nice, because the dragon fruit that I have is a special yellow skinned dragon fruit. I don't believe the flesh is yellow. I think it's the skin, and it's got little thorns, which I've mentioned earlier. So it's a little bit less domesticated than the other ones. But one thing that some people in the chat know already is that the dragon fruit, they require cross-pollination to fruit, so they can't self-fertilize. So yeah, but this neighbor lives close enough that that's probably not an issue, but it would be nice, to have like both at the same time. Plus it is growing a little bit slower. And I have a grapevine that is died back. I have the loquat tree is vigorous. In fact, we just had the season a few months ago. So the big gym that I mentioned a few times on this podcast, and some Suriname cherries, but they're not fruiting right now. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I have a fig tree, but it hasn't fruited. And at this point, I might just uproot this thing and put in a different one. I think I've told the story that I used to have a very, very productive fruit tree. Fig tree. And there's people who would come by and they'd ask like, oh, could I pick the figs off of your tree? Like, yeah, sure, no problem. There's too many. But then a car ran right through the tree and destroyed it. And then we put in a new tree. And this thing hasn't fruited ever for like years. At this point, it must be like half a decade. Yeah, it must be 5 or 6 years at this point. And I get advice.
It's not happy. I would
guess.
It's
growing fine, but it's not fruiting.
Oh, then that's actually a different problem. If it's continually growing and not fruiting, then I think that maybe it's just trying to get larger.
People tell me it's because I've heard this from multiple people, and I've heard it before, this problem that like for some fig trees you gotta like either gotta water them a whole lot, or or not just volume, but like consistency, like maybe not a ton of water, but a little bit of water, like kind of more constantly. But I've tried that and it doesn't seem to work. So I don't know. Maybe I got a lemon, and I might have to just, go with a different cultivar. This was Tema. This was Tema. For anyone who's curious, TEMA.
Well, Matthew, if you got a lemon, it's defective too, because you're not getting any fruit.
Yeah, I'm not getting any figs. I'm not getting any lemons out of this fig tree either. I take lemons.
Lemon should have been fruiting even sooner. So shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead,
I saw a post where this dude claims he bought property from someone who had a fruit tree. I forget what tree it was. And the previous owner told me, yeah, the tree never made fruit. So the guy took over the property, and he ended up, he had a horse. And I think he tied the horse up to the tree. And that year that he did that, the thing made fruit. So he was saying maybe, go hang out with the tree.
I've heard the same with worm castings.
I've hung out a lot with this tree. I've hung out a lot with this tree. This tree owes me fruit.
Yeah, but Matthew, have you
tell it you love it? Tell it you love it.
I gotta ask you this though, man.
Do the wasps love it? That's my question.
You got to nap under it.
When you hang out with a tree, Matthew, do you shit there for it? Because I'm sure that's what the horse did, and I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that might be. It might not
shit. It's the fertilizer.
That's the love language. That's the love language. That's the love language that it really needs to hear, probably.
Well, that's why the earthworm casting thing also worked. I know a guy who did the same thing with their tree. They'd never fruited. They moved into the house. The guy's like, oh yeah, this tree is just bare. It's not ever gonna fruit. And the dude dug out like a foot or two around the outside of the roots and just poured on bags and bags of earthworm castings and threw some earthworms in there as well. And within 6 months, the whole tree was just rich with fruit. So
it's just efficient in something, man, and those microbes unlock it.
There's got to be something. I feel like I think that it might even be. I think it's nutritional. I mean, I think it's doing good nutritionally. But yeah, I think and the other problem is that it could be where it's planted. I wasn't able to get a straight answer for people, but it could be one of those cases where, like, I know people who grow citrus like more easterly, or from my position, and they have to deal with frost more and that kind of stuff. And I wonder if I might be dealing with that problem where it's just not the right hardiness zone, maybe. And I wasn't able to get it straight.
We're not as good as Mexico, for example. Blackberries suffer from this. A lot of them are grown in Southern California, but the best blackberries are grown in Mexico because they get a little bit hotter and a little bit more sunlight. One of my clients I work with has a Tangelo tree, and they were just kind of whining and complaining that, it's not making sweet enough Tangelos. They're mainly sour. And I actually personally like that. I love Southern California citrus. I like it a little bit more sour. They actually made me a big pulpy glass of Tangelo juice after our hike, and it was fucking amazing. But none of them really seemed to love it. So they're thinking about tearing it out because they have other more productive, like their avocado tree, for example, is produces a shit ton, and they eat a lot more avocados than they would the Tangelo. So it really might come down to just the hardiness zone, direct sunlight, could be nutritional stuff, but I think even rabbits can have similar effect to like what Tao's saying with like the horses, because alpacas, anything that has that kind of like cold compost, I think, type manure, where it doesn't have to hot compost before it's usable. And I think the reason for like rabbits, for example, they are an animal that eats their own poo, which sounds a little bit gross, but they only digest it like half the way, and then they eat their poo
Yeah,
and they
it's
fully digest it.
recycling.
But
Yeah.
when you prevent them from doing that, like at like this also sounds a little bit gross to people, but there's places that they grow bunnies for meat that they keep them in cages, and in the cages they have a layer that the poop drops through, so they can't eat it. And some of them will even have like worms in that, and turning that rabbit poop into worm casting. But even if you don't, just the pure rabbit poo, there's like Bad Bunny nutrients in Michigan. They use rabbit poo, and I've also seen people that have like guinea pigs or animals like rabbits that use that for fertilizers and have plenty of success. There's Indra, the guy who made BHO in like Vietnam when he was getting shot at. Kind of crazy story, but he talks about how growing his plants, he used lots of rabbit poo in his fertilizer and just grew massive ass plants. So I definitely think it's one of those cheap inputs that a lot of people may overlook, but it can be very effective.
It's cheap if you have the rabbits.
That's true. But some places will like give it away. I guess like the bunny meat places, like a lot of them, before they figured out that people were paying for the stuff, were just giving it away. Like they pay people to take it away. Like you just show up to the place and take the stuff in buckets because it's a waste product to them. And before they realize like, oh, this is actually a valuable fertilizer.
That's
like,
worth the trip.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
and,
I agree.
I think even like, not that this is the best, but I've seen people do it for other types of gardening, but like cow manure, like we were just talking about with the tree. A lot of people will go to a local, stall or a barn where they've been basically scooping the poop out of the stalls to make sure that the horses don't get infections and sick and things like that. So you can just pull up, and usually the only problem that I found with that is like when I looked into it as a new to Southern Californian, I was unable to go because they'd make you pick up like a whole truckload. You need to like pick up a whole pickup bed. And I'm like, I need like a bag, not like a truckload. But I'm sure that you could work something out with a local farmer maybe if you make it worth their time.
Bunny is good meat.
Or look
Controversial hot take. Sorry.
You can buy rabbit in the stores here in the meat market, right? Right at the grocery store.
I'm from
No
Ohio, man.
surprise.
Hunting is like
That's a little
most
cottontail,
people's.
yeah.
It's a lot of people like how they feed themselves. Like, so I wasn't one of those people, but I had a good family friend who served us just like burgers and didn't say anything until we were all complimenting how good it was. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I hunted that. That was meat that I harvested myself." And so I appreciate the people that do it, and I think that people should be more open-minded, especially considering where most people's meat comes from is nowhere even near as ethical as what I would consider hunting to be. So it's definitely a toss-up, double-edged sword there.
Yeah, but I like going for the cold compost, and those animals tend to have not as much compost, so you can maybe get away with going to like an alpaca farm, or people have llamas or rabbit farms like you suggested, and just going there with a 5-gallon bucket with a lid and say, "Hey, can I fill this up?"
I used to trade goat milk for the figs from the previous tree. I'm out goat milk now. Where am I gonna get my raw goat milk? Not from Europe. I got to pasteurize that.
It's cool when you can barter. I like that type of system. If you like, I know people that keep their chickens and they use their eggs as a barter thing. They'll trade eggs for other produce or fruit and vegetables, anything really. It's a great
eggs
system.
are getting more valuable now, man.
Yeah, I agree with that. And there's a collection of people that I used to frequent who would exchange all kinds of things that they used to garden, that sort of thing. I would bring alcohol though, so it kind of, well, it's unfortunate.
That's got value.
It's got a lot of value. What's the word I want to say? It screwed up the economy. It's like flooding it with gold because everyone was like,
"Oh, come on, nobody brought cannabis."
I know, right? No, nobody did. And I think there was there was a few times where, like for example, there was a controversy where Well, speaking of rabbit meat, you know, people would bring other things that they would harvest, like, so not just plant material, but like animal byproducts, right? Like eggs or whatever. And yeah, that it changed the dynamic. And the people who were baking bread, you know, it's kind of hard because people are like, well, you know, it took me a lot of effort to
Yeah.
like make this bread, and it took other people less effort or more effort to do other things. And you know, but it's really contextual. And
I think we should
yeah.
rely on the skills of others. Like my barber, former barber, I cut my hair. My wife and I cut my hair now, but he was like half barber, half beekeeper. Now he's full-time beekeeper, and he has the best fucking honey around. Like it tastes like Skittles to me. Like it's so sweet, and it also has the local pollen that makes me a little bit more. I need to. Speaking of, we've been having lots of pollen kick around. It is unseasonably rainy here in San Diego, and a lot of people have been stuffed up. So I think that's another good tip is if you can get local honey, it can help, you know, boost your immune system. So I've been told. I haven't seen too much like studies and data, but I've heard it anecdotally enough, and I do think that there's actually some small amount of scientific evidence that's looked
I
into
think so too. Yeah.
the you know, honey having benefits not only for like the dietary reasons, but also the getting trace amounts of pollen into your system. We get it even just in like the air, like Matthew talked about. We breathe in molds. We also breathe in pollen and particulate matter. And
Mhm.
like there's actually a pollen index. If you go on the Weather Channel app, they have like they'll say how much pollen is in the air right now, and it gives you a different number each day. Like if Tao's
Yeah.
shaking that Amy Ace's mail.
Yeah, they gotta like go emergency if that happens.
It definitely blocks up the old sinuses and throat there. But I think we do have another question. We've got two actually. Chilbert UK asks, "What is the best female to use as a pollen donor when in crossing, combining two females to make fem seed? One has 14-week flower time, other around 11 weeks."
I don't like word math problems, to be honest. Can we skip this one? No kidding.
I guess my quick input would be, it really depends, and this is one of those things that you might just have to do both ways to see which one you like more. Reversing stuff, it can have sometimes the female that you reverse dominates the cross, and sometimes it doesn't. So it really depends on what 14 weeker is being crossed into what 11 weeker, how stable each one of those parents is, and which one you like more. So I would say the one that's receiving the pollen might have the ability to be more dominant in the cross. Some people think, but I think that the pollen donor does often have a lot of impact on the offspring. If it's not exactly 50-50, which I mean, it might just be straight up down the middle, but a lot of the times I do feel like the mother that's pollinated tends to, at least that's the thing that you know and you can smoke. And that's the cut that you have. So like you're most familiar with the female, but this is two females in this case. So it's a little bit different. I'm used to breeding male to female, but either way, I'm curious. Anybody else have thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'm just gonna take the cop out answer and I'll be like, why do you have to choose? Why don't you just take clones of each plant and do it both ways and then pick the one you want the best?
Yeah, grow the offspring and see which phenos you find most desirable.
Yeah, I mean that's probably the route I would go.
I'll play devil's advocate and answer maybe for Chilbert. He hasn't answered just yet, but in my experience, if you have more than one male or a reverse female, I know reverse females put out a lot less pollen, but the second that you get two things that are making pollen, you can not as easily confirm, okay, 100% of these seeds came from this
Yeah.
pollen producer,
So I'd do
because as
two
soon as pollen
runs.
gets in the air, it's there's a scramble.
Yeah, I would just do two runs, you know. I would do the first run one way, keep the clones and veg, and then do the other way, isolated.
That's the best way to do it, I think. Or like if you go Kyle Breeder style, where he's got like separate tents that are isolated with like completely negative pressure or whatever, and very
Yeah.
high levels of filtration. But even then, I think there's just so much, like you open up that zipper one time, you get a little bit of on your clothes and you like walk over. It's just so easy to cross contaminate. Having done it myself, I'll say I'm a person who will only have one pollen producer in any of my environments at a time. But Tad, what do you think about this one?
I really don't know which one would be better, but like you're saying, I like to only have one male or one pollen maker ever, like making pollen at any given time. But you know, they do make those pollen bags, and like actually you could put a whole plant inside a little pollen tent baggy thing in your grow. I'm definitely gonna get a bunch of those. Like then you don't even have to worry about if you have one that's in veg and still making some male flowers on you.
Which
But
happens more often than people think, I think, especially if you let them get a little root bound with certain genetics.
yeah, because like even if you have females, they pre-flower eventually in veg, you know, and that's basically what will end up happening with your males, and they will make pollen eventually. But yeah, I don't know which way would be better, and if you have the time and the gumption to do it, like Spartan says, yeah, that's probably the way to go.
He said he reversed 4 females and he wants to combine his favorite 2.
First 4 females. Well, if he has a favorite 2, then he should just use those. Right, forget the other 2. Right?
Yeah. So the reverse seed, I would grow out at least 1 generation before I reversed again. I wouldn't jump right into another reversal right off the bat. I think
he's saying he has like 4 separate females that he reversed all 4 of these females. So all 4 of these females have pollen sacs on them, and he's like,
"Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, okay.
Which ones am I gonna hit
a
non-reversed female with to, or even the other?"
Okay, right.
He might be letting it just go like open pollination style, like reverse female into reverse female. Like, you know, you've got your if we were gonna like make it Gorilla Glue crossed like Girl Scout cookie or something, you've got your reverse Gorilla Glue over here, and you've got your reverse Girl Scout cookie here, and they're just both throwing pollen at each other. But then you'd have like a mix of S1s as well as the cross, you know?
Yeah, that's a tough call. I don't know. I would choose the one he liked the best. And if you're saying the two are similar, and one's a 14 weeker and one's 11 weeker, like I would take
keep the one that you like the
weeker.
best. Because then you get S1s, and then you can cross it to any of the other ones.
All the
right?
other ones,
yeah. Hit all 3, so you have S1s and then 3 fem crosses. You have the S1 and then the cross of itself to all 3 of the other strains. That's the route that I would go, and I'd probably choose the 11 weeker personally, just because fuck man, 14 weeks. I don't know too many people that are growing shit over 10 weeks anymore. It's few and far between as far as I'm seeing. Most people are looking 8 to 10 weeks. 10 weeks is like the long end for a lot of people. So 14 is if you want anybody else to grow it. I know it might be like your favorite smoke, and I know UK guys especially are into the kind of more headier sativas and stuff like that. But that is a commitment.
I have them all reversed and in clones for receiving. I'll try both ways and let you know how they go in a few months.
Honestly, Gilbert, that'd be awesome, man.
Maybe
we'd love to have you on.
At all. Yeah, that's a good point, Jack. It'd be great to have him just come on and just talk about it, so we can just have a faster exchange back and forth.
Yeah, if you want, I could shoot the link out into the chat, and you can jump on tonight, or just in general in the future, like after you get this thing going. This could be a fun check-in now, and then we'll check back in with you in a month, 2 months, or a year when some of these offspring are grown and you're sending them out to the homies in the community and they're starting to pop them, because that's a fun process. What do you guys think? I think with the small panel, maybe we'll open it up tonight, send out the link, kind of like last week, and
yeah,
sure.
Oh yeah, that works.
I love those.
Do it. All right, I'll go and grab that link.
I always love seeing what people are doing in their gardens. Sometimes it gives me ideas of shit I'll do in mine. It's really, honestly, always when I get all these questions sometimes, or somebody sends me, and God bless everybody who sends me all the nice comments. I'll get some really nice comments sometimes, and I'll get that imposter syndrome, like, what? Who's the person they're talking about in this? It can't be me, kind of a thing. Because I know, like, everything that I've learned, like, 50% of it was me failing at shit. And then, the other 50% is me reading in a book, or talking on the show, or learning from a guest, or listening to a podcast, all of knowledge that, somebody else failed at stuff until they learned it. So to me, it's like I'm just regurgitating things, but
I love learning from the mistakes of others. That's why I follow so many growers, man. It's like, I don't want to have to make the mistake for myself to have to do it. Like, if I can, I would really like to learn from the mistakes of others. It's hard. Sometimes you really just have to walk into that glass door yourself to realize, like, oh, I need to pay a little bit better attention. But in growing, sometimes you're like, I'm going to do it this way because I read that this way is the best. And then it might blow up in your face sometimes. And then you learn from that. And I think that makes us all better growers. That's that firsthand experience. We get secondhand experience from reading, from listening to podcasts, from books and things like that. But until you do it yourself, it's hard to confirm who is actually a good valid source. And like when you start to follow people that you can see they're having consistent success doing something, they can at least describe what they're doing and maybe why they're doing it. That gives me a little bit more confidence in what somebody's doing than when somebody might just be throwing a bunch of shit at the wall and hoping something sticks. And some people, sometimes they have success, and then sometimes they run into a wall and have problem after problem after problem. And you're like, why can't this person get it together? And maybe it's because they never actually learned what made them successful in the first place, or how to avoid, like in a lot of people's cases, it's pest issues. Like if they just spent a little more time on Zenthanol's YouTube channel, or maybe got into his Patreon and were able to get their stuff identified, and then go through the pest primers and then figure out, the things that can combat and prevent the certain pests that they're dealing with, that make their life a whole lot easier. But until you cross that bridge, you don't get there. And that's why I love his channel. Like I like to know what the newest pests are even before they hit my garden, because if I ever do see them, then I can think, oh, maybe that looks sort of like something I remember. And I might not always be right, but at least it gets me off on the right foot of, I need to address this, or maybe I don't. Because a lot of the times, like I think Matthew often quotes some of the things that he gets sent the most often is like springtails or other relatively benign insects that aren't going to destroy the garden, but people might think, oh, I need to burn it all down because they see a bug crawling.
Yeah, it just kills me, right? Because like it's such an expensive thing to do for no reason, right? And it's like it's the mantra of my entire like 12 or 13 year work at this point, which is admittedly not unique. It's very similar in other places. It's like, just do the due diligence, like do the pre-planning stage. Don't assume that you're not going to deal with the problems. Yeah, I mean, that's just really all it comes down to, I guess. Because it's very disappointing. You spend all that time, effort, energy. Some people, they have a really catastrophic situation that gets out of their hands, and then they're like, I guess I'm not doing this anymore. And that's very unfortunate. And then what doubly bothers me is that then people will come in and gaslight them for it. Oh, your plants weren't healthy enough, or oh, obviously, but not. Don't you love the no true Scotsman fallacy that you see all the time? Like I literally saw this in my comments a few days ago, where somebody was like, well, I'm growing in living soil and sometimes they get pests. And then somebody else was like, well, if you're getting pests, it wasn't really living soil. And I'm just like, there could be a happy medium between your two experiences. I just feel like it's such a
all or nothing mentality.
Such very binary mentality. Very
yeah, why can't we lift each other up instead of tear each other down? It'd be such a better place.
Sometimes people are wrong, but yeah, it's like sometimes both people are wrong, right?
yeah.
Seed Person 1 asks, how is 50 Strains of Purple going? I've just been a bit busy, so it's been on the back burner a little bit, to be honest, but I do plan to get that done as soon as possible, and I hopefully will have a little bit more time to finish it up. And still amazingly packing up and shipping out the occasional 50 strains of green. So I appreciate all the support from everybody out there who's been buying the book still. And I do want to get that finished as soon as possible, but I like to make sure I'm getting all my information correct and accurate, good photos, good quality photos, and things that represent the strains well. So it will be this year for sure, but I'm not sure exactly when. But I'll announce it for sure whenever it's even close to ready, because I'll do a little pre-order to get an idea of how many I'm actually going to physically print, and then we'll go from there. The one thing I wanted to say with Matthew's point, a lot of people don't even know what they don't know. So they might not even know what to look up. They might not even realize that pests are going to be the level of an issue that they might come to be. And they might not know how to look up pests or who is the good information out there. That's why I try to constantly plug Zenthanol's channel and make sure that people are getting accurate information and not being gaslit and told like, hey, basically like get good. You're not a good enough grower. You're doing it wrong. Like, well, that doesn't help them in their situation. It's like, let's take them from where they are and move them forward. And if they have a pest already, you don't blame them for it. It's like, let's help them get past it. And I agree with Spartan and Matthew on that. It's worth definitely researching and investing the time and effort into learning about it. But we also have to realize some people are newer and aren't going to have that level of experience or understanding and knowledge. So if we can, helping those people out and help fill in those gaps of knowledge so that they're not so shocked or taken off guard the second time around.
Yeah, before when I got spider mites the very first time, I think there was like 3 or 4 harvests where I didn't even realize they were there because my harvests were coming down and I wasn't understanding why. And then one harvest or one at some point they took over like with the webbing, and that was when I knew about them. And this was before there was resources like Zenfenol, which could have saved my ass, you know. But then I realized, so yeah, sometimes things are unseen that are happening.
That's why it's really good to know the plant signs. The plant speaks to you, like whether it's a nutrient deficiency, whether it's a fucking pest, like the stippling. It to me it looks like somebody went in with like a thumbtack and just stabbed tiny little holes in the plant because you start to see these tiny little yellow dots all throughout the leaf before you even see any webbing or sign of spider mite elsewhere. I see it on the plant first. And I think even the AI like drone detectors that can use like infrared vision and multiple visions, I think they're using visual cues like that to identify when pests are around as well.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, GTB. How you doing?
Welcome in.
Pretty good. Yeah,
What's up, Cheech?
not much. Just chilling on a Sunday, watching football.
You see, they're shooting down UFOs over Lake Huron. Watch out.
Yeah, there you go.
They put us on notice. We gotta watch out for the UFOs.
They're calling them UFOs again. I thought they were called something new.
UAPs.
They're
UAP,
Yeah,
unidentified
UAPs.
aerial phenomenons.
well, I think they're
Yeah.
pretty much all the different balloons.
Because they know they're objects and not just phenomena. Probably, I don't know though.
Yeah. It's looking like the first 3. I don't like saying shit, but I mean, from what I've read, the first 3 have been pretty much, at least different people have said in positions that they were balloons, and I haven't heard anything official on this last one.
I just want to say that if people think that aliens can cross the galaxy, cloak their technology, hover across anything, but can't get shot down by an 896 Sidewinder, I don't know, man. Maybe we shouldn't be too worried.
I don't know.
Matthew, you of all people are going to be questioning the advancedness of the United States Air Force. Come now.
These aliens are about to learn why we don't have universal health care.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
or
budget,
maybe the budget's all in defense.
Yeah. I was gonna just say, without getting on a huge tangent, that like maybe they're just the scout system, right? Maybe they're less sophisticated.
Maybe
or they've already been here for a long time and we have no freaking clue.
There you go.
Those are the
Zorblat's over here like, oh hey,
been.
Zorblat's like, oh hey, the camera stopped working. And Metajax is just like, I'll just talk to IT. I don't really want to talk about it. Maybe they're just like us.
Like,
maybe they're very relatable.
You mean that old tech? I didn't know we still had it up there.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, we got to get some upgrades. Yeah, maybe that's it.
Well, the thing is they just did an upgrade on some of their technology that senses objects more finely in the air. Now they're finding all these things.
No, the good aliens that are working with our military showed us how to shoot it down. That's what happened.
No, because Boeing and Northrop Grumman keep an alien in their basement. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, haven't you seen that? Like, there's like a space log with all the different captains, and one of them is like ET or whatever, number like 1 through 4. They're like extraterrestrial captains.
There you go.
It's turned into ancient aliens really quick.
It really is, yeah.
I blame Chicha.
Yeah.
I'm only kidding. Chicha, how are things going over there in your garden? And what are you smoking on tonight?
Well, it's still not going because I'm a procrastinator. But no, it should be fine. I just need to stop procrastinating and actually do what I need to do. But life is busy.
I need to pop
Everything's
seeds.
looking.
I said that I was going to do it like a month ago, and I haven't done it. So I've at least got plants and flower, but that's just going to put me behind the 8 ball, like I've been a couple times, where it's like my harvest comes down and I've got nothing going. It's like, oh shit, I got to get it going
Right.
right now. Otherwise, I'm going to be sitting here twiddling my thumbs, waiting for those seeds to pop with nothing else growing.
I know. I thought about just because I've been procrastinating, just throw some, dare I say it, autos. I mean, just to have quick and start.
Better than nothing.
But
Shit.
yeah. But I also have house plants too, so and I gotta get those all separated. I have a lot of babies, so I gotta get them all. I have a lot of succulents, so it keeps me entertained for a while.
We talked about those a little bit at the top when we were talking about Matthew's garden, I
Yeah.
think. And I think succulents are interesting because they're one of the plants that are really easy to overlove, like love them to death if you give them too much water. And it's like
Yes.
one of the ways I see people kill succulents most often is just watering them too
Yes.
regularly, like daily, for example.
Yes.
This is definitely not the way to go with succulent.
When I first started growing, that's how it was. I was like, I just want to love it. And I was feeding it and watering it. I'm like, yeah, it's great. Why is it dying? But through trial and error, I learned it's like some succulents I could not water them for like a month, and they're great. They're just like, yeah. I don't know what some of them are called, but I have one that I consider like the mother, right? Because I have like 4 different babies from her, but they also have babies. So it's just like,
Grandma,
yeah, she's like a great grandma almost, I feel like.
they're amazing. Aloe is like that too. You can take little cuts
Yep.
off of it. A lot of things, strawberries, fucking, you can take clones or runners, whatever they want to call them, but
Yeah,
making more
my
plants from one plant.
my
Cannabis.
aloe actually had made a baby, so I'm really excited about that. It's first baby. I'm like, oh, look at it.
That's cool.
Yeah. So,
like it.
and then my jade plant, I got a jade, I got a rubber tree, I think. Rubber plant, I think it is. I don't know. But a lot of cactuses and mother tongue. That snake plant
Yeah, snake
that
plant.
has tons of babies.
Are we allowed to say, do you grow any of the fun cacti, like the trippy ones?
No, I didn't know.
They make a
There's
couple of them. I see people grow and post them on Instagram. I think you're allowed to grow them, but once you start extracting, then it becomes illegal. But I'm not 100% up to date on the current laws with that kind of stuff. So don't quote me on
right,
that, people.
yeah.
I suggest spider plants for anybody who's struggling with house plants. Get you a spider plant.
I don't know. I spider plant or there's like I think it's called Devil's Violet. I'll have to post it on my Instagram, but
Like devil's
I
trumpet.
can't kill that thing.
Grow cannabis. Shit, man. I think cannabis is the fucking plant. If you can't grow a plant, like succulents, I know people that are like, they felt real bad because they're like, oh, if you can't grow plants, grow succulents. And then they killed the succulent and they're like, I just have a black thumb. But then I can teach them how
Right.
to grow cannabis like in a couple days. Like it's a pretty fucking resilient plant. You
Wow.
really like, you might get a fucked up harvest. You might get a bad looking plant, but
Yeah.
it's pretty hard to get, like, unless you are really gone for a long time or something really, really, really goes bad. It's pretty tough to kill a cannabis plant unless it's like a seedling, like very, very early seedlings. You kill them pretty easy. But after a few weeks of veg, it's like pretty damn hardy. Like one of the more hardy plants that I've grown. I haven't grown a ton, albeit, but I would say it's
Well,
pretty easy,
I say
fairly easy to pick up.
if you can grow a tomato plant, you can grow cannabis. It's almost the same. Just
I didn't
one
realize until I
sprouts
started growing
tomatoes and the
tomatoes
other. I'm
why
sorry.
people compared them. They actually look alike early on.
Yeah, like one just grows bud and the other one grows tomatoes. Why? See, that's the thing. It's like everybody says it's DNA, and I get it, but it's like if they look so much alike, why can't we cross the DNA? Why can't we have infused tomatoes?
They're really far
Watermelon.
removed. Matthew would probably be the person to talk to about that. But like Cannabaceae has like 8 or 9 different species within it. Like you could do, I think, like hemp or cannabis into like hops, which is being
I've
done.
heard,
But
I've heard
I
tell
saw
about
Yeah.
somebody cut and have a scion of like
Yeah.
cannabis on like hop or something recently.
That's definitely happening. You get a crisp, you get the crisper, you can make You could do anything pretty much.
Yeah,
Put some cannabis and tomatoes. Yeah.
Yeah, transgenics is a little different. Yeah, I mean, theoretically, you could put that. It's probably it's complicated, right? Because it's a big system. It's a big
Screw
system.
CRISPR. How about Crispy? Crispy wannabe
Crispy.
and
Hey,
Smart Poker
Smart.
in the house.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers to everyone.
Ooh.
Great to have
we
you.
want-
Cheers, guys. Good to see you.
Yeah.
We
It's
wanted
good to see
to.
all of you too.
Kitty's here with us. We wanted to show Kyle his Violet Beauregard air and flower day.
Can you turn
number
the camera to the
30.
side?
Yep. Give me 1 second, please.
No worries. I just put you on the full screen, so it perfect.
Damn, dude.
Boom,
You got that
looks
10
great.
spot.
Oh man.
That's
Between-
the Violet Beauregard on this side. It's almost cut clean down the middle even. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
this side over here is the Violet Beauregard. This side over here is a cherry pie crossed with tansy.
I
And
got
the
to
front
admit,
one
the
over
cherry pie cross and tangy is filling in a lot more.
It's a little, it's got a little taller, and it's actually
Mhm.
Isn't that called forbidden fruit? Cherry pie cross the
it's
tangy?
exactly what
Yeah,
it is.
the forbidden fruit.
Yep.
Hell yeah, I love that cross. Tastes amazing.
Yeah.
It's smelling amazing. Very citrusy.
Yeah, it's super citrusy, but it's like a rainbow of fruit. It's like a sangria almost, like it's a cocktail of fruit. Just truly amazing flavor on that one, in my experience.
Looks beautiful.
They're all looking killer, dude.
Mm-hmm. I love that stage where they're just like little puff balls.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We vegged these for, I think this side was 42 days and this side was like 45 days or something.
Yeah, they're close. They're like within days of each other. But yeah, I like that stage too. The puff balls are they look so soft and the smells start coming on, and this tent does
Yeah.
smell fine.
It smells like cheese over here with the Violet Beauregard. When you rub the stem, it's weird. The stem actually gives me a better smell than the bud squeeze.
Delicious.
Yeah, it's been fun. We grew to Amiaces now. This one and both times they've been a lot of fun, and so far so good. Great vigor to get to this point, and
I hope you love the smoke, guys.
can't wait, Tal. But yeah, I want to make way for somebody else. We just wanted to say hello and show you these in flower and say hello to everybody.
And
Thanks for
wish
coming up.
everybody. We just wanted to wish everybody a happy and safe Valentine's Day too. We all share that romance for this plant.
This is our Valentine.
Absolutely.
She's everyone's Valentine. She's
yeah.
internationally loved for sure. And y'all are more than welcome to everybody who's in here. Hang out. You don't just got to run after you show off the garden. You're more than welcome to hang and chat until the end of the show, or as long as you're able to. Before I pass it over to Dog Doctor, I want to ask Smot and Crispy, do you guys care about sports at all? Do you have anybody in the Super Bowl? I know you're kind of close to the Eagles over there. Is that who you're taking, or do you even care?
No,
No, we're
No.
going Chiefs, baby.
Chiefs for sure, 100%. We feel like the Eagles,
Yeah.
in my
Eagles.
opinion.
That's a
anyway.
tough city down there, man. The Broad Street and shit, they don't mess around. And it's like the only stadium with a jail cell and like a night court and some shit right down there. So
Bill
Yeah.
Burr's tear down of Philly is one of the funniest things. If you haven't watched it, it's like 13 minutes or 15 minutes of Bill Burr just crapping on Philly after basically they booed a guy that he was a big fan of, and he just comes on and just tears them apart. Like every sports team they love, every national like monument that they have, he just rips them. And he like minute by minute, he's like 7 minutes left, and he like just tears them apart. The most, if you're not into like cruel and a little bit unusual, maybe over the top humor, it might not be for you, but he's
I
definitely
know.
harsh
That's
and
amazing.
hilarious.
That one is like, it's a legend. That's one of those legendary moments that kind of elevated him to legendary status, when you can go out in front of a crowd of people and just not give a fuck, and just tell it and just try to hurt them as much as you can. That's just, yeah, it was something to watch.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Philly, especially because it's such a hard city, and he really didn't hold back at all. It was quite the performance. I love that we're seeing the cat over
The
there
cat went for
helping
mine.
de-leaf the lowers. It says y'all need to trim this up a little bit more. We need some more airflow. But speaking of cats, we got Dog Doctor over here. What's up, Dog Doctor?
Ooh.
What are we looking at?
Looking
Good
good.
love,
dog.
everybody. No aliens in
Good
this
love, buddy.
house. No worries. And if they come, I'm not stupid to shoot them. That's for sure. Hope everybody's doing well. Here, we're looking to the rents and the amnesicats that they were here last time. Now they jump a little bit higher.
Yeah.
It's pretty deep. I'm waiting. This is day 15 today, 16,
Okay,
16.
okay.
So
They're still holding a
I-
pretty even canopy though. I like that.
yeah, I like that they're still growing. Apart from that corner over there, but that's my fault because I didn't fill it up so much as the rest. All of the rest is pretty much. And they seems happy.
Yeah, they look real happy.
They seems happy. But I think, I don't know, probably a couple of days more, not longer, and I will strip them up.
How's
take
the
all of
super
this.
freak? Super freak. That's what everybody wants to see.
Super freak? No, that's not super freak. That's big also, but it's not super freak.
Who's this?
This is Purple OJ Punch from Super Sativa Seed Club. She's pretty a muncher also.
How's she smell? And that's the new Super Sativa Seed Club with his son or whatever.
Yes.
Keys.
This is let's me see. She keeps changing. She got a kind of a skunky smell. That's
Yeah, they got a lot of old school hazy stuff.
Yeah, she's got a kind of she keeps changing, but yeah, but the skunky smell is the one that keeps staying there, and she's sticking and stuff. She's really nice actually. Curious to see about. And for those that say that clones don't live, they are in there for 2 weeks now with just water, and they're starting to root down there. I didn't find the time yet to put them in place, but they're alive and happy.
So that I've told that to so many people that tell me that they struggle with cloning. I'm like, have you tried just putting them in water? Just put them in
Yeah,
water.
I
I'm
really
telling you.
that's something I don't understand. So here is the cabbage that everybody wants to see. She's growing, and I need to put it like
Yeah, it's
this now
fucking
for her to
awesome, man.
fit. She's in the middle of her feedings.
Still haven't flipped, right? You're still in veg?
Not yet, yeah, still in veg. But I think I keep saying that this week I will flip her.
I wonder how much it's going to stretch and what the stretch will look like.
I have no
Right.
idea, but she will do everything in 45 days. So I really
Yeah, so it
imagine
can't be too
that
much.
Can't be too much. I mean, but them autos, they stretch and grow and do everything fast also. So I really don't know what to expect. And there's really not that many people that grew this one. I check on the diaries, I check on YouTube, and there's only a handful of people, and
It's
they
new,
grew
man. It's
different.
new.
Yeah,
It's only been out
Grew
for
different.
a couple years, or
yeah,
maybe
it
a
grew
year.
different in everyone. I think it's 2 years, this something like this, couple of years, but it grew different everywhere. So I'm just growing it and going with my feeling.
Yeah, I mean, your pheno is going to be different than everybody else's, and your environment is unique to yourself. So I would just kind of watch it and see how it works in your setup.
But
'Cause
this
what
is
matters.
Freaky, man.
all ads and buds, or will be
Oh
supposedly.
yeah, definite.
Yeah,
You could see the
almost.
bud sites.
But he didn't start flowering it yet. It's not an auto, right?
No, not at all.
But even on a veg plant, you could see where the bud sites are, like when you're building your
Oh yeah,
straws.
you can
No,
see.
you can see easily see
Yeah.
It's
the
like
color
fucking
change.
cabbage right now.
Yeah, I love it.
That's wild.
It is
If
wild.
I get it too close, I think it's in focus, but she's beautiful, man. I'm really hoping that she's good medicine, because I really want to keep this in the garden. I think this is something everybody should grow. Oh. And this is almost finishing.
Which one's this?
This, I don't know what it is. This is the testers for fast buds. So it's number 8, number 9, number 10, and number 11. But they're coming out beautiful also.
That's the other side of the spectrum, I guess. Fast buds, I kind of like that they do that. They send out like at first I think they were doing colors, like it'd be like red, blue, green, and then now they're just
Yeah.
doing numbers. And I think that, like we were talking about at the top of the show, without biasing or kind of giving your influence to the grower on their thought, they just can grow it and then see and smell what they're getting. There's
Yeah.
no nothing
But this is not on
to
the
be.
markets. These are tested for something that supposedly will come out. But if they will tell me this is this with that, I would be expecting something like this. I have no idea, and I really have to give my honest opinion based on what I grow, what I smell, what I taste, what I feel. This one is minty fruit. I don't know. I like it. I don't know what it is. That one is sweet fruity.
We have a strain
Sorry.
called Mango Mentality that's pretty popular around here.
Wow.
And
Mango mentality.
yeah,
Don't
Mango
know.
Mentality. So maybe it's auto cross with that. Fruity mint.
Sorry, man. I'm still getting used to the dub idea and gets me dry mouth really fast. That's hazy smell, and this is also fruity. Pretty much.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And I want to say welcome to Seed Person One, who joined us just a few minutes ago. Thank you for
Hell yeah.
hanging out.
How's it going, everybody?
Good,
Where's
good. How you
How you
doing?
doing, man?
Pretty good. We did some interesting stuff over on Smart and Crispy's show this afternoon. I thought you might appreciate seeing it.
I would. What
Hell
are we
yeah.
talking about here?
See. So
Oh, yeah, check this out, boys.
It was a lot of fun. That's for sure.
these are clones, but 3 of them are upside down.
I'm both upside down.
So we're gonna try and see
No,
if
like
we can
physically
get roots
upside
to
down.
grow.
Ah,
They're
okay,
physically
okay,
upside
okay,
down.
okay.
The top of the clone is in the rooting pod to see if we can get the this is the control.
That was
That
fun.
one's right side up. This one's in Happy Frog. This one is in sand. So the 3 upside down plants, and see if I can get roots to grow out the top of the what was the top that is now the bottom.
Wow.
It's
That's
gonna work,
wild.
dude. It's gonna work.
They should
It'll
be able
root,
to
but
turn
I don't
out
know if
pretty
it'll
all
start growing. That's gonna be
That's
the
what
weird
I
thing.
was wondering, because the phloem and the xylem, yeah, do they?
So
I
I've
don't
had
know.
a creeper where when we were growing greenhouse, the lower buds, a lot of the time we would trim them because they'd hit the ground and then they start to mold. But just for the fuck of it, one time we, on one of the more sativas, just buried like the first few feet of branches, and they just became, like, when we dug them up, they were just giant roots. But this by itself being its own plant without the rest of the plant, I'm really curious because like, where are the new nodes going to start coming out? Like what?
Well, there's 2 nodes at the top of each of these. So if they can grow down and up a little bit, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
I'm curious. Definitely, we'll also have you back on for an update and see how this goes. If they root, that's the first question. I think that they will. My instinct is that yes, any buried portion of a cannabis plant for a long enough time, even if it's not buried, like air pruning, if you wrapped it up with soil and like a plastic shell or saran wrap or whatever, it'll start shooting roots out of the side of any stem on your plant, even in the middle of flower.
Jack, he put one in the sand, like he said, and I know that Johnny Caniseeder over on the Eagle Show there was doing stuff in sand, and I thought that was pretty wild. So I think that's another one that I plan on looking forward to seeing how it goes.
Yeah, Johnny gets 100% roots pretty much every single time he does that. Just sand in the bottom of like an old food takeout container and throws a little water with maybe a little aloe into that sand to hydrate it. But I mean, it's used for fruit trees and other.
There's no drainage on his, right, Jack? On Johnny's?
No, it just stays completely sealed. And I think that's to keep the humidity or moisture even throughout. Looks like we got a city picker here. What's in that?
This is so Spartan, I feel like I'm in the principal's office right now because he's like, don't plant a cover crop. And I planted a cover crop and it ate up all the nutrients. And then I got fungus gnats. So I had put a layer of compost on top and it exploded the fungus gnat population. So I chopped everything down and I buried it all in an inch of sand. And I put some worms in there.
And
Hey,
did that
we
stop
live and
the
learn.
gnats?
We'll see what happens. The gnats are gone
There you go.
mostly, but
Yeah,
yeah,
you might want to follow up with some, if you haven't already, maybe some nematodes in there.
that's my next step. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you
So-
can, just making sure that you're watering from that pipe and avoiding getting water on that topsoil, because the drier you can keep the top, the less the fungus gnats are going to want to be there. I mean, the sand is
that.
already a great start.
Look at that freaking clover. It's already coming through the sand.
Growing
Sand.
through the sand.
Yeah.
Fuck your sand. We'll come right back through.
I see shit like this at the beach all the time. Life finds a way.
This
Oh,
might
yeah.
end up being a dump it all out and start over at some point, but
No,
you
man,
know,
just
I'm just,
cut.
I'm
This
just
is
learning.
salvageable.
No, dude, you just go and get those little things that look kind of like scissors for yard scissors or whatever they call them. And just go in there and just keep chopping it down and keep covering it with mulch or sand or whatever you're using. It'll eventually die off.
Yeah.
Don't throw it out. That's all adding back to the soil. Each one of those little plants, it is shooting out exudates in its roots as well. So that helps build your soil. So it's not exactly a terrible thing. It's just the moisture that if you let it get out of control, it can really be a problem.
Well, and they fix nitrogen from the air, a lot of them. So it's like
The clovers
they're-
do. Yeah,
once you
those
chop
clovers
it and
do.
drop it.
Yeah, exactly. You have to chop it to get that nitrogen boost though.
Aw, I love the cats in the gardens, man. My two, I can't keep them out of there. Unfortunately, mine are probably the furriest I've seen. They get hair everywhere.
He's
That is a
happy as
chill
fuck.
cat.
He
He's
or
just
she.
Is he
flat on his
high?
back.
He's
No,
happy,
he's
that's
like,
for
"Ah."
sure.
He's happy as fuck. That is a chill,
That-
super happy
Don't-
cat.
don't
Look at
film
him.
me.
Look, yeah.
He's
Time
like,
of his
man,
life. That's great, buddy.
what's this one in the big pot? What's this? That one's looking nice.
This is white fire cookies from Namico.
That looks really
Fucking
nice.
looks
man.
amazing,
It's in a
man.
10-gallon pot. The bottom third is a mix of Stonington blend and lobster compost. That's the same stuff I used in the city picker because it's what I had. And then I've been just putting microbes in there and water.
It's crushing right now. Is
Nice.
it? This is a veg space right now.
This is second day of flower
Oh, okay.
or flip rather.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
see
I
any
remember.
pistils yet.
I saw your Instagram post, and I was like, he's got
She's
one
gonna
massive
be
plant, and those
huge.
other plants are pretty small for having just flipped. But is this like a
These are
pheno
going
hunt?
to be pollen donors.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully,
Oh, okay.
I'll get one male out of here just for some pollen chucking, and then I'll cross
What are
it with
the
that.
potential males?
These are 9-pound hammer,
Ooh, boy.
Nice.
so it'll be 9-pound hammer to the white fire cookies, and then 9-pound hammer to this is Grand Champagne from 2020.
Oh, that's a nice one too. That's cool.
Nice.
So that Grand Champagne, what I would say, do you have anything with amino acids in it?
No,
Well, I would
I can
shout
get
out-
something though.
Yeah, so
Brandon Rust.
I would shout out Brandon Rust just to get some from him, the amino plus.
Yeah, amino and plus.
Yeah, are you still in veg here?
Yeah, this
You can
one's still
foliar.
veg.
Yeah, I would pick up at least the amino plus, and that would be you could either I would foliar is how I would do it. And then if you wanted to go even one step closer, the amino is going to give you the greening up action a little bit faster because it's like the nitrogen is what's used. We know to make to get it greened up, right? But the nitrogen is used in the plant to build amino acids. So if you give it the amino acids, you're just kind of giving it one step ahead. So yeah, get that N amino plus, and I'll do that as a foliar. And then if you wanted to even go one step further, you could feed something through the tube for the roots, like his N carbon humate fertilizer that he partnered with NASA. That would be my go-to. That's what I use.
The N plus in the tube works too. You can water that shit in, as well as if you just wanted to buy one product and the amino N plus. Like, yeah, you can go from the bottom and foliar it. So that way it's in your soil as well as on the plant's leaf tissue, and you're getting as much as possible. I would also say probably if you don't have it, gypsum, I think like calcium and sulfur are pretty good. Just cannabis tends to want a lot of both of those things, and that could help as well. But
Yeah.
Okay, thank you guys. I'll start.
He's
doing
also
some
got a
research.
product that I want to really try some more of. He's got that calcium. Is it calcium silica? Calcium.
oh,
SI?
Calcil plus, I've got that.
Calcil plus, yeah. So yeah, if you were gonna get two products, I would get the amino, and then the next one would be that Calcil, and you can mix them both. and as a foliar or as a root drench or both. But that would be my options, what I'd be looking at.
All right, cool. Thank
And
you
then within a
guys.
week or two, that should be greened up, I would think.
Awesome. Yeah, I sprayed it with CalMag water, but that didn't really do much. So yeah, that's all I got going on over here. I'll hop off so that somebody else
When
can
did you?
share.
I'm sorry.
you're all good,
how
man.
long
You can
ago-
hang.
No, go ahead.
We
How
got
long ago
space.
did you spray? How long ago did you spray that?
2 days.
Okay. What do you remember the rate? Like,
I did 2.5 milliliters to a gallon.
Okay.
Cali
okay.
Magic, and then a little bit of Dawn as a surfactant.
Yeah. Yeah. You want?
That should help.
Yeah, that'll help. But I think that's still a little low. So if you
Okay.
have that, you could probably come back with that same treatment again in the next couple of days if you don't see it getting a lot better.
Okay. Cool. So we get quick fix and then more long-term stuff.
Until you can get some amino acids or that calcium.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
No problem, man. Thanks for coming on and showing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sure. I want to take a second to welcome in Cheddar Bob, another guy who grows lots of cherry pie, not the forbidden fruit, just the straight cherry pie. Cheers, Cheddar Bob. How you doing?
How's it going, guys? Good to
Hey,
see you.
buddy.
Cheers, man.
I
Good to
always
see you.
enjoy my Sundays around this time.
What's up, Cheddar?
Oh, not much, Tao. How are you, man?
Still alive.
You get. I heard you were gonna make it up to Maine this summer. Come visit.
Everything's a possibility.
There you go. That's what I like to hear. No excuses.
So is that what you got right there? Cherry pie and something
Yeah.
else, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Disconnect you from my the Zoom, like the windows and everything all switched around. It's like updated or something.
Yeah,
It always updates.
Uh,
It's random.
and
let's
then and
see.
Instagram also.
There we go. So yeah, this is the cherry pie. Got a nice little bed here. We are, what are we in? I think I flipped these into flower a few days after New Year's. So like probably like week 5, I guess.
That's right about where I'm at too.
Yeah, a little bed of cherry pie. This is really only, and well, before I do that, look at this. So
Oh,
this, yeah. So this soil, right, sat in my garage in 55-gallon barrels for like 6 months. And when I replanted these, and watered them in and stuff, I had a huge friggin' bloom of fungus gnats. Slowly and surely, my predatory population came back to life, and I don't have any fungus gnats anymore.
nice.
Yeah,
That's good.
so it's pretty sweet. But yeah, 2 and I don't even know if I can call this one a plant. It's got like, I had to chop so much of it out just for space. It's got like 4 branches, but basically
For the listeners, what were the predators that came back so they know maybe?
I believe that they were the H miles. So what I can never pronounce those, Matt. What are the
Yeah,
Schibidi-laps?
hypoaspis miles or miles or stradulalaps schematus.
Yeah. And didn't they just change it to something else now or something?
They might have, yeah. The Lalapidae, the group that they're part of, is known as a waste bucket taxon, which is just fancy wording for we're all going to just put them all in this one group because they basically look the same, but they might not actually be too
The same.
closely related. Yeah,
There you go.
Conversion information. Just
Oh.
those?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what else is in there. Maybe some rove beetles.
Hmm.
Maybe some nematodes.
Yeah, definitely probably some nematodes because I got worms in there and stuff, and I can imagine
Nematodes
that
come back
just-
to life.
I can imagine that
Usually not, unless you have. I mean, maybe not anymore. Maybe not with the fungus gnats gone.
I thought that after 2 weeks of receiving them home, you could save them in the fridge for 2 weeks. More than that, they will die. And I thought it was that. So I can save them for longer.
I mean, like if they're in the substrate,
Oh,
like
so we'll-
like if you like they're predatory. So like, what
They
happens?
in
Like
soil.
you
Okay,
put like
okay.
millions into your soil, and then they kill
Okay.
the prey, and then they reproduce, but then like if they don't find anything in enough time, then the population dies. So you might have a low level population if you still have some larvae running around or something.
I mean, who knows? I don't
Certainly
scope.
not.
I don't. Yeah, I haven't added anything to this bed, so whatever I've seen crawling around has been just dormant and kind of pop back up. So
you might even have some native stuff that just creepy crawled its way in.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's very possible as well. So
all good stuff, though. I'm glad to see it.
Oh, you know, my buddy did actually give me with his worms from his worm bin, would have been some mites and stuff in there. So
Oh yeah, they put all kinds of good stuff in there.
yeah, so that they possibly could have populated from there as well. But
I've gotten some
I'm not
beneficials,
sure.
but I'm not sure where from, either local or from the worm bin input.
Yeah, I haven't added any, so they came from somewhere.
How long are you using that soil?
Let's see, this soil, one of these beds is going on 5 years and one of them's going on 3 years.
The same respect. Wow.
Yeah, so one bed's on like round 16 and the other one's on like 12 or so.
And you don't, you cut them and you plant next. You don't take the roots. You let them break to the soil, and the bugs and the worms do everything what they have to do. Like,
they do everything. I'll cut about right here, and then after a couple months, this will be basically dead wood, and I'll just twist it and pull out the giant stalk, but it won't have a root ball left on it. It'll just look like a regular stick.
Nice.
So yeah,
and you don't move the beds, anything. Sorry.
No, I don't move the beds. I'll replant, I'll just replant another plant here and here and here. I might go 6 next time. I might just go 1. I'm not really a schedule, or I'm just kind of like a seat of my pants kind of grower.
Roughly how much are you transplanting in? Like how much do you dig out? Like a solo cup, a 1 gallon, or?
It really depends what needs to be flowered in my bedroom. So it could be a solo cup, it could be a 1 gallon, it could be a half gallon. I've put a 3 gallon in there before. So
that's really cool.
Yeah. Over here we've got let's see, this half of the bed is Gorilla Glue number 4. And this is a Bubba Kush. And then back here is Mr. Toad's one hitter quitter. So, yeah.
Super cool, man.
Really cool.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if the last time I was on that I had thrown them into flower yet or not, but I don't think I had. So figured I'd give you guys a little update and see what's going on. One cool thing I have noticed is this cherry pie, I grew it outdoors and took a new cutting from the outdoor grow, and it almost like reset the plant, if you will. Like these flowers are noticeably larger earlier than the past generations that I had grown indoors, 5 or 6 runs of it.
DJ Short said he would do that every summer. He would take his best mothers and put them outside for like a month or 2, get plenty of outdoor sunshine, and he believed that it would regenerate them, and then he'd be able to take better clones off of them. And I think you're seeing the direct result.
It feels that way for sure.
It's the sun. We cannot mimic the sun
you can
yet.
see the plant looks way different grown out in the sun than underneath the light. Yeah.
I used to give all my
in and out.
Plants that I wouldn't kill off, I'd give them to my barber, and he grew them out in the sun of San Diego. And some of the best expressions, best buds, even better than like my best indoor runs, were from like his neglected outdoor run. It just happened to be in a great environment.
Yeah, we may say it's the sun, but it might be other factors as well. As I was
so many
reminded
factors.
about that.
No, it's all the factors. Yeah.
But I still believe, the sun has a lot to do with it, undoubtedly.
But the sun, the moon, you don't use light.
The birds singing, the fucking bugs fucking crawling around, everything. The worms.
It's water.
The tree fairies that come
the clock
visit your plant.
just
the
struck
roots.
5:45 out
Shit.
here on the West Coast, which is typically the time that I pass it over. I can't believe it's already this time, but I'm going to kick it over to Spartan Grown to let him get his final thoughts and shout out in before he has to head on over to the Michigan Bros Grow Show in about 15 minutes.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks everybody on the panel. I love these kinds of shows. This is kind of what I'm all about, the community. I think, I don't know if I remember, I think I was going to say this earlier, but I didn't say it. But I think really in the end, what we all need to do is just make sure and encourage everybody to home grow who can. And that's how we win, man. Fuck all these stupid rules, regulations. And I think the way we all can win is to share our knowledge collectively, like we always have, and to continue to do our own thing and let them do what they want to do. And we can all exist at the same time.
Agreed.
Yeah. So other than that, much love to everybody. Just keep growing. And we'll see y'all next week. Oh, hell,
Thanks,
There's
Spartan.
love, buddy.
in
Thank
15
you.
minutes.
Peace out, Spartan.
See you guys.
Pleasure, man. Thank you.
Good night.
Don't shoot any aliens, buddy.
Hey,
I totally agree,
Matthew.
though.
Oh, sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead, Jeff.
No,
Yeah.
you go.
What's up?
I have a question for you. Have you heard about in the last week a mite issue with some food source being poisoned by something?
Yeah, I was on that MLG.
Have you guys already talked about that tonight?
No, we haven't talked about it today.
Oh,
But-
could you explain that to me?
Yeah. So basically, Andrew, who is the owner of a company called Biotactics, he's insectary. So he grows predatory mites, right? He harvests them and then he sells them, and he develops them in-house, right? He raised them in-house. He's not a distributor.
He's
So he
like
has
a
to raise-
true insectary.
Exactly. He has
Yeah,
to raise them on the prey. And so in this case, it was spider mites, and he raises those spider mites on bean plants. And he does that because they're very easy to reproduce on bean. Bean is a pretty, well, honestly, green beans are really vulnerable to a lot of pests, but spider mites, there's even bean strain spider mites that just go ham. So when he got the seeds from the distributor allegedly, they messed up and they put some insecticides they shouldn't have put up, and the spider mites were fine. The spider mites were like, no problem, a little bit spicy. I like it. The predator mites all died, like millions.
No.
Yeah, so he called them up and he asked them to check what compounds were applied, because there's a fungicide that's applied to them and it doesn't affect anything, apparently, but the insecticide would. And I guess they're used to spraying a bunch of bean plants with a systemic. I mean, these are seeds, okay? So there's like a coating, I think, is what happens, but it gets into the seed. It's a systemic, like a slow release kind of.
It was
fertilizer
seeds. You're
almost.
correct.
It was seeds, yeah. So these
And
aren't like plugs. These
This
are
has been
seeds.
litigated already. So what he's about to discuss, like, there's already been lawsuits and this has been settled in court. So
Is it already settled?
So quickly.
my understanding, the reason that Biotactics is even able to talk about it is because they won. They already went through it.
My understanding was that they
wow.
were still building some sort of support for something greater.
Oh, okay, that could be the case. I know at least that the initial, from what I heard, he was the owner of Biotactics said, and there may be ongoing stuff, but he's like, we have won certain cases, so I can say certain amounts of things.
Oh,
And-
really? Okay. Well, I don't know what is germane to say, but what I will say is that this, from their mouth that they spoke, and you can see it on the MGL podcast. That is it MGL and MLG Master
GML.
No,
Grand
GML.
Master.
GML. I got it wrong
GML.
both
Extra
ways.
level.
GML.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's something
GML
I was like, what?
podcast. Yeah, okay, not Major
Yeah.
League Gaming. No.
close,
Yeah,
though.
the Grandmaster Light
Grandmaster
Level.
level. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, you can go and check it out. It's a long story, but one of the things that he said was that he talked to them and he asked them what they applied, and they were like, oh yeah, we applied, I don't remember which compounds in the moment just now, but I did recognize them earlier. And they were like some nasty stuff. And he's like, oh, you did? And like, wait, no, I mean, no, we didn't do that. And like he already said it. And so that's why I say alleged, because like, it's literally playing phone tag, or I mean, it's literally playing, telephone. So, I want to be responsible. But like, if that's the case, that's really bad for obvious reasons.
I think that's what happened. The provider of the seeds, or he got to the point where they know that wrong insecticide or whatever was added to the seed. He got that admission, or he got that proof, so now he can talk about it, I believe, is what happened. I'm not 100% sure, but
I see.
yeah. And he also said that the spider mites, when they reproduce, they're actually even more poisonous to the beneficial bugs. That's crazy.
Yeah, so they were
crazy.
Sorry, I'm just spotlighting myself. Sacred Garden, you jumped in. I don't know if you're trying to flip the camera around so that you don't show yourself, or if you want to be on camera or not. But if you wanted to, you could just unmute yourself and then go ahead and jump in. You're on mute right now still.
Oh shit.
I thought he was trying to flip his camera around. Maybe he's having a little technical difficulties.
There you go. He's got it now.
Yeah.
There, it's flipped around.
You're still mute though.
Yeah, you're still muted.
Still on mute.
But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Matthew and Tao. That is an interesting debacle that is currently happening.
Evil that
I saw it just from Biotechnic's Instagram page.
I guess my question is that like an isolated incident, or is this something that should be starting to be looked at in instances of like population death in these insectaries and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know how common it is. I have a sneaking suspicion that if something like this happened to, like, say, I don't know, Copper Biological or Bioline,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure it would get litigious quickly, and I'm sure they would have the ability to record what happened, and they have multiple insectaries in different countries. So biotactics, I think what added insult to injury is because and biotactics, Andrew has not been very active on social media for like a couple of years, and so this was an explanation as to why, because I think this was also happening right after his son was born, or his child. I'm not actually sure the sex, but that happened very recently. And also, I believe he was making some moves in South Africa or somewhere. He was trying to maybe make a insectary or expand, and this was catastrophic. So not
It
not
is
a huge
unfortunate.
Yeah, so I don't want to
post
bogart, but
it might have been a story post that I saw, but the guy actually came on and like talked one-on-one to the camera on his IG, and that's where I heard that he had some litigious stuff go down. But before we close it out, because we only have about 7 minutes left.
Oh yeah, that's
Sacred
true.
Garden. I know you've been in here for a little bit, and then I asked you to unmute, and then we didn't give you a chance there to talk. So what are we looking at? And if you could turn your phone to the side, that way we could see a little bit more of the. It should snap. Hopefully, there we go.
Yep,
Boom.
there you go.
Good. All right, and then if you can unmute, then you could go ahead and tell us what we're looking at.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. This is I had from Masonic Seeds. I had just one male. It was a Street Fighter. And then I have from Pyramid Seed Company, Purple Urkel. It was the one female that I had, and I hit the male to the female outdoor. I had a bunch of seeds, and I just started like 25 of them, and I killed a few of them because I didn't plant them straight down with the point down, so they were like wrapping around each other. But it was like almost 100% success germination rate, and they're already purple. Like they're all already purple except for this one in the back is green. That one right there. But like I even have like little purple on this one. The insides of it are already turning purple. Nice. See that? And there's already like trichomes. I don't know, they're tiny, but they're like, I don't know, this is something pretty cool for me. But the next ones, I'm going to start soaking my amiaces. I'm going to do those next. So I'm excited to do those. But
I think you'll like the amiaces a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, hell, Tao. All hail
That
town.
Amy does get around.
Thank you, pal.
International girl and boys,
Oh yeah.
because there are regular seeds, so you got to watch out for the males if you're not planning to do breeding work with them. But
No, I prefer regular seeds anyway. So just
Yeah,
in
me
case,
both.
you know what I mean, you find something good, might want to make some more.
Well, I hate to wrap things up so quickly, but I appreciate you coming on and showing off your garden. How about you let the people know where they can find you?
I'm on Instagram, Sacred Garden Salves. You can
Awesome,
find me
man.
right there. All right, and I'm on YouTube too, Sacred Garden. So if you guys want to just find me.
I'm following you, I think, on both spots. So cheers and thank you for coming on. Cool checking out your stuff. And next up, we got Chicha B.
Thank you guys. Have a blessed Sunday, blessed week.
Peace
Yeah,
out.
cheers.
See you, Sacred.
First love, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Chicha B, any
Well,
final thoughts and shout outs? Where can people find you?
well, thanks for having me. It's always cool to hang out with you guys. It's really, awesome that you open up and the have. You guys all have great information, and hopefully you had a great weekend. And it's gonna be nice here in Michigan this week, so hopefully you can enjoy the week too. And yeah, cheers to all y'all.
Cheers to you. Next
First
up, we
love.
got Cheddar Bob. Where can the people find you? Any final thoughts and shout out?
No, just thank you, Jack and Spartan and Matthew and all you guys for the time you put in for us. It's cool. You guys are always keeping us up to date and on stuff that's going on, and your knowledge is priceless. So just really appreciate your time and having people like me and all of us home growers come on and feel like we're part of the club. It's cool. It's a good community thing. So thank you. Appreciate it.
I love that element. I mean, it is in the name of the show. Growing with my fellow growers, the original host used to just reach out to people he might not even hardly know. When I first met him, we barely knew each other on Instagram, and he's like, "Hey, I'd love to interview you, do a podcast." And then it all kind of rolled
in
into what
place.
it is today. And I think that having more people from the community on is what the show's heart and soul's all been about. And I can't be happier that it's continued to evolve this way. And we get to see more and more gardens and answer people's questions and even just get to hang out. Like, it's a Super Bowl Sunday. A lot of people aren't actually watching that and don't really care. They might watch the commercials or the halftime show more than the actual game. And some of them aren't even watching. I'm more of a puppy bowl guy myself, as I joked about at the top of the show. But with that said, next up, we got the dog doctor.
Nope, sorry. Thank you guys. Thank you for having me and congratulations. I love the number today, 202. It's really, really a fun number and it's amazing job. I mean, 202 episodes, 202 weeks. It's respect. Thank you. And thank you, Spartan, Tao, Matthew, Sasha. Thank you, Shattered Smart, everybody that jumps in and that does the show and makes it happen. And I'm Dog Doctor. You can find me in Instagram as Dog Doctor Official or in Grow Diaries and as Dog Doctor Official. I have to shout out, of course, Aptus for sponsoring my nutrients for my plants. And this week, I'm shouting out Super Sativa Seed Club. This is why I'm wearing their shirt for the seeds that it's in and for everything. Great stuff so far they're sending. So much respect. Thank you, Walls. Thank you, Shat. Grows love to you all.
One of the OGs in the game, Super Sativa Seed Club, SSSC. I've been looking at their pictures since I was a little boy, first getting into
Yeah.
cannabis, those catalogs, them and basically, the seed bank of Holland, which Neville,
That's passion.
RIP. Yeah,
That's
a lot of good
passion.
stuff.
Yeah.
Early
They're
stuff,
the
but
old guys.
a lot of OGs, and I'm happy that some of them are still out there putting seeds out there for the community to keep on growing. And with that said, another amazing grower and guest panelist this week, Crispy Wannabe and Smart Poker.
Thank you, Jack. It is an honor to be here with all of you. I consider you this is the cool, where the cool kids hang out, and it's like with rock stars, and you make us feel so comfortable coming on and sharing our garden and experience with you all. Big grower love. You can find me here every Sunday at 7 p.m.
Same here. Grower love, gang.
Grower love.
Yeah.
And definitely check out their YouTube, Smart Poker and Crispy Wannabe on YouTube. They've got great shows, the Hump Days and Confused and the Sundays and Confused. It's great stuff over there. Hump Days, it's just great energy, great vibe, good people, lots of great guests. Some of the panelists that have been on this show have been on there sometimes several times. So make sure to go check out their back catalog and their current week to week stuff, because they've got tons of great content to put out there. So we really appreciate you both coming on. Always a pleasure to have you. And like she said, they're there every Sunday. They're some of the first people in the comments almost every week. So we appreciate you, loyal listeners, and many others like them as well out there who are listening right now. So thank you all so much. And the first panelist this evening of our regulars is Matthew Gates.
Yeah, this all went pretty fast, and I really liked all of even some of the off-topic conversation. It was pretty fun and interesting, and I like that chat seems even more lively. I've been saying this for several weeks now, but I do feel like we're having all kinds of cool interactions, so I appreciate that as well. But I'm going to get to it. You can find me at zenthanol.com for professional inquiries, Zenthanol, the YouTube channel, and also on Instagram and Twitter, which is at SyncAngel, SYNCHANGEL, and check out my Patreon if you want to support the YouTube and all that stuff. Have a good one.
Absolutely. Make sure to support him and check out his content. Tons and tons of great stuff. I agree, though. I saw Cheddar Bob pan down. Weed should taste good. And Cheddar, before I pass it over to Tao, what's the superhero of the day? I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. He's muted, but we're going to see it. It looks like we've got, is that Venom? Or Spider-Man. Classic. With the black on top, I was thinking Venom, but,
Web spinner.
That's right.
And last and certainly not least of our regular panelists this evening, the American one.
Jack, always great job hosting. Thank you. And it's good seeing everybody. Shout out to Chicha B, Seed Person, Dog Doctor Official, Cheddar Bob, Sacred Gardens, and Crispy and Smart Poker. Thanks for showing off your gardens and hanging out with us. And yeah, definitely check out Smart Poker and Crispy shows on Sunday and Wednesday. And yeah, I'm the American one on YouTube, and the American one _ Keens on the IGs. Most of you know me. If you search the American one on IG, hopefully I'll pop up a little guy with an American top hat on. That would be me. And yeah, you could hit me up there. So peace, everyone, and good to see everyone in chat. I've been in and out, and yeah, it's great to be here. And we'll catch you next week, if not somewhere in between.
Jack, you got to do the Dr. Evil.
Always a pleasure. I was talking about the puppy ball. Here's my cat. That's Tallulah. Everyone else was showing off the cats.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday, everybody.
Have a blessed week.
And Sacred Garden, well, we got your shout out. I'm the last one, I guess, technically, as the host at Jack Greenstock. You can find me on Instagram. Jack_Greenstock is my backup account, and my name on Twitter. If you want to email me, jackgreenstock47@gmail.com. And if you'd like a copy of the book 50 Strains of Green, you can go to 50strains.com. 50 Strains of Purple is still in the works. Hopefully in the next couple of months I'll get that finished up. But busy and doing my best. But I appreciate everybody, the listeners, and everybody who came tonight. Tao did a great job listening everybody off, so I'm not going to double it up, but we've gone a few minutes over. Make sure you go check out the Michigan Bros Grow Show tonight and show them some love and support, because we support all the cannabis shows in the community that I'm aware of that are cool and friendly to all the community. So shout out to them, and shout out to all the other shows out there. Peace and love, everybody. Have a great one. Growers love. Catch you next week.